I'm Marco Peereboom. I'm the CTO of Conformal Systems, the company behind Coinvoice. We developed it. I'm an open source geek, cryptology nerd, all that kind of good stuff. So, yeah, we started out more as a online secure backup company, but you know, Bitcoin has quite a bit of nice cryptology stuff, so I got interested in it, and we actually built a couple of products around it. So let's get going. First, we're going to go speak a little bit about, or I'm going to give you the agenda of what we're going to be speaking about. So I'll do a quick introduction about the company and what we do, the folks behind it, and what they have been doing over the last, couple of years. Give you some usage models on how to use the product. We have an affiliate program that I will touch on pretty quickly, and then one of the main features actually is the bank without banking, and I'll go into a bit more detail there on how we can help you guys with that. So first, what is Coinvoice? So Coinvoice is essentially a payment processor. What that means is we can take payments in either Bitcoin or US dollars and then pay out in the other currency. So I've been using an example from a German gentleman who was a journalist, and he works for a US publication. And what he does every month, he writes them an invoice, and he bills them in US dollars, and then he gets paid out in Bitcoin. So that's really neat because he does not need a US bank account and all that kind of good stuff, and he still gets his Bitcoins while he invoices a company that doesn't even know what the difference is. They basically just pay out as they normally would. So that's a pretty neat trick. What we also do actually is we go the other direction as well. So we can provide services where people can pay in BTC and then get paid out in USD. So that's more for the consumer level folks that are up to speed and basically just want to be able to spend their Bitcoins. So we offer methods for that. So who's behind Coinvoice? So actually, let me speak about the name first. They're still within the company. We still have debates about how to actually pronounce it, because the original name was Coinvoice. But then most people started saying Coinvoice, so I've heard all kinds of variations on it. So I'm going with Coinvoice today. But Coinvoice is what it actually originally started out as. So Conformal Systems is started out as a online backup company. We do actual secure backup that you can verify all by yourself. That's the bottom bullet there. The product we made was CipherTight. In doing a lot with cryptology and in associated technologies, Bitcoin really was a natural progression for us. So we decided to go have a look at it. The other thing that we've done that some folks of you may or may not know is we actually wrote a Bitcoin full node implementation, which is the one that we are actually using for our backend of our own Bitcoin services. So that code is open source and available to the public. Everybody can have a look at it and use it. It's that BTCD, BTC Wallet, BTC GUI thing. That was a lot of work, obviously, to get it all set up. But it's really nice, very readable code. People seem to like it. So if you want to build your own Bitcoin business, feel free to check our code out. So why is Coinvoice different? Well, so I've heard a lot of folks saying, you are just like, and I'm not supposed to talk about them, but BitPay. Well, we sort of are. We have a similar product, but we also have a different product, which is the reverse way of doing things. So we can take BTC or USD or the other way around, and they only go one way. So what that basically enables people to do is to work without a bank account. So you can basically do business in the US without having to have a presence in the US, which is kind of a neat feature. You also don't have to, deal with the hassles that you have with exchanges, right? Like you got to send your money to Mt. Gox and, hope for the best. So we basically pay out as quickly as possible, usually on a schedule of once a week. So once once we receive your money, it's going to be released within days. And that schedule can, of course, be altered if there's a need for it. So we try to be end user transparent. That's another thing that we try to do, and that is by offering people the capability to basically invoice in US dollars. The target will not know or care that he's actually doing a Bitcoin transaction. So that's kind of neat. What it actually does is we are hoping that it will actually add some liquidity to the Bitcoin community. And that is good for everybody, because the more liquidity there is, the less volatility, etc. So we started out first as a privacy and security company. So we are pretty, we tend to do designs that are very secure, and we put a lot of shine on the cryptology parts to make sure that everything is correct and that we don't, become the next hacked website. So for what that's worth. So we don't, actually put the last bullet there, is that we are all hosting it all ourselves. We do all the code ourselves. We don't trust third parties, and we expect our customers to not, feel that they're going to be, their information is going to be put out there by two third parties. So we don't resell anybody's information. It's purely between us and the customer. So this is a bit my wordy slide, but basically this is how to use it. Well, first you have to basically sign up, obviously. We do have a KYC process. That is, for the folks who don't know this, and know your customer. And that is important because we don't want to obviously be facilitating any nefarious business. So we want to know who is signing up with us, and the purpose for that is just to make sure that we are not participating in any bad activities. So we require things like a web presence, basically just legitimate businesses. Those are the folks that we want to attract, and none of the others. So then we actually force the people to create an invoice, and the reason for that is that we just don't want to drop people in the GUI and say good luck. So this actually forces you through the process so that you get familiarized with the actual website and how things run and go. So the next step is basically to get paid. So you start invoicing your customers through the website. It sends out an invoice to your customer. They pay the amount, and then we remit that amount of money to you in the other currency. It's slightly more complicated for foreign companies because they have to fill out a W-8 to B-EN form. That is an IRS form, basically saying, hey, we are not stationed here, so we don't owe you any taxes. So actually that form gets sent to Conformal and not to the IRS, but we have to obtain those forms to be within the law. All right, the other thing that we've done is we actually recently released an API. And I should say we almost released an API, because I'm actually standing talking here, because that was going to be my job for this week. So I haven't done it just yet. But come next week, I will be actually releasing the API. The API is JSON-based, and basically what you can do is all the things that you do on the website, you can pretty much just send a command over the back end with your API key, and you achieve the same result. So I did a PHP reference implementation, and what I did with that is actually I created a bunch of plugins already. So I did Drupal in UberCart and WordPress with WooCommerce. Those are the two ones that I did. And basically what we are going to be doing is adding more plugins and just giving folks the ability to basically add integration with their own websites in our backend. We have a sandbox for development purposes so that folks can basically go out and play with the website, get an idea how it actually works. That one is fully automated, and it's actually connected to the, interestingly enough, to the testnet. So you can actually make full transactions using testnet coins and basically get a feel for how the product works end to end. So I actually put a couple of just screenshots up there. The top one is the one for our sign-up page, where you basically have to go through the KYC portions. And the bottom one is obviously the interesting one. That is our payment gateway. It might be a little small to see from there, but basically what it is, it's the address, the exchange rate that was applied in a QR code if you want to basically just take a picture of it and pay. So the affiliate program, that is something that we just also recently released. The affiliate program, basically what it allows that for you to do is actually, if you refer people to us, we'll give you a 10% of the proceeds return. So what we do is basically actually put one of the links up there. You can see the bottom one. The last 6 letters are basically the referral code, and if you actually put a link like that, or basically get that referral code sent, and people click on it, and they sign up with the service. The only thing you have to do next is basically give us a Bitcoin address, and then monthly we'll basically give you your proceeds of the business that, that you guys effectively sent our way. So want to make some cash, send people our way. It's pretty simple. You basically have to go to the Coinvoice website, and the link is up there, although you can find it in the FAQ, and then you can actually read about how it, the nuts and bolts of it. But it's a cool program. You guys get to make some money, and we get to get some new customers, so it's all good. All right, bank without banking. So the trick is obviously that since we can go both ways, it allows people to basically operate without bank accounts, because you can basically go both ways. As we are doing things right now, we are adding more services to expand on that idea. One of the things that we are trying to be able to do is actually help countries out like Argentina, where they are pretty much, I mean, I'll use the ugly word, being screwed by the government. They basically, their money is not worth a whole lot. In fact, I've heard somebody yesterday make the comment that it's worth less than toilet paper. So that's pretty sad, but if we can get some bitcoins in those people's hands, that'll give them a lot of buying power, right? So they'll be able to buy product at actual market rates and not at inflated government-controlled rates. So we're trying to get into those markets and help these folks out for many reasons. Obviously, we'll make a profit, and they will get, to buy and sell product at market versus having to deal with, banks and other entities that are basically robbing them. So we put a little graphic up there. Basically, what we do is we sit literally in the middle between a business and a purchaser, and there is a conversion rate that happens there. But I think it's pretty obvious at this point because we have gone over it. So a couple of caveats. We just want to make sure that people understand that there are obviously some of them. If you store your money in BTC, we know that it's sometimes worth $100 more. So today you're a millionaire, and tomorrow you're 100,000 there. So people just need to obviously be aware. But as more liquidity is going to flow into the Bitcoin network, that is going to flatten out. So it's not necessarily a bad time to get into Bitcoin, but you've got to realize obviously what you're dealing with here. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, for non-US businesses, you really have to fill out that form, or else we won't be able to help you out. It's really not hard. It's about 5 minutes worth of work. And basically what that tells us is that you're tax exempt from the United States IRS. So, and as I also mentioned before, you can operate without a presence. And that's a pretty neat feature. So what's the future? So we have actually started localization, as you can hear by my funny accents. I'm obviously not from here. I'm Dutch and Portuguese, so hence I got those two already done. So I just need to put them up there one of these days. We have Spanish plans because we are actually trying to get into South America and those other areas. Another thing that we have been asked is actually for points of sales. We have recently helped out I'm sure everybody's heard of it by now, where they deployed the Bitcoin ATM. We've actually installed our payment gateway software on there so that they can basically take Bitcoin online for their business. So, but what we don't have right now, which we'll be working on in the near future, is point of sales. But we want to do that right. So it's if it doesn't work right, people will just abandon it and not care anymore. So we're going to put a lot of polish on there and make sure that it works right and that people are happy with it. And the other thing that's also happening is we are just basically doing a whole bunch more plugins. Currently we have WooCommerce and UberCart. So we're planning on OS Commerce, Magento. There's a couple more that folks have showed interest in that we will be doing. So I went a little bit quick because I was started a little late. So is there any questions? Anything I can explain to you guys? Yes, sir.
One thing I didn't see is percentage as far as the conversion rate. Are you just going straight off the top, or you?
We charge a percentage, and it depends on the direction of the transaction. So going from USD to BTC is more risky for us because once you disburse Bitcoin, it's obviously reversible. So that we have a higher rate on. The rate currently is 4%. And the other way around, BTC to USD, we have the pretty much common rate in the industry, which is 1%. Yes, sir?
What exchange rate do you use?
We pull it from Bitstamp. And it's pretty much instantaneous. So when you hint, if I go back to that slide with the payment gateway, it basically is whatever it is at right that second is the exchange rate we quote. And that one is valid for 15 minutes. And if you don't pay within 15 minutes, you can refresh the page. You'll get a new quote that will be valid for 15 minutes. Yes, sir?
You said that you go both ways, but without a bank account, I don't understand how you can go from Bitcoin to dollar.
So we have the bank account, effectively, right? So when, so for example, for that journalist, when he gets paid, the entity pays us in the US. And then we do the conversion into Bitcoin for him. So the person, the guy who sends out the invoice, does not need a US bank account.
But how would he get paid in dollars if he's not getting paid?
Then he's obviously going to need a bank account.
That's what I'm
Or a bank account, right? So as a Dutch citizen, I can tell you that I have an American bank account in my Dutch bank. So when I get paid in dollars, it goes into my dollar account. So it only makes an exchange when I actually pull it out. And those things are actually relatively simple in Europe to have multi-currency bank accounts. Any other questions? Oh, you guys are tame. Did y'all go out last night? Yes, sir.
Now, so basically, like whenever y'all pay a company, so for instance, that company is here in the States, is it going to be something that when they see the transaction, are they going to see the transaction in USD from, say, for instance, a bank account from here?
Obviously, right? Because it's going. We got to obviously talk about the direction where we're going here. But let's say we are. So if we, so the way it works is the customer sends so we send by proxy the invoice to the target, right? And they get a payment request with a bank account associated with that. But that is obviously our bank account, right? So they send the funds to us, and then we disburse in Bitcoin on the way out.
Right. No, I understand that part, but I'm saying the bank they're sending to, is it US based or is it over there in Europe?
Which one? What way are we going?
Either.
Well, so there is no bank involved in USD. Sorry, in invoicing in USD and getting paid in BTC.
I ain't talking about my end, but I'm talking about your end. So either way, you're sending cash to the business, and the business is sending cash to you.
Right.
Are you yourself?
We can transfer to overseas. It's just a wire for us, right? So it's relatively simple. So I must be missing the. I'm sorry?
Your bank is a US bank.
That's correct. Did I not answer your question? Because I think I still see a lot of confusion.
That's good.
Okay.
Yes, I'm a small business owner, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this because right now I accept credit cards and your typical payments, and I like to do this as well, but also with my credit cards. Do you have a way to integrate it in QuickBooks?
Not yet. So the API was actually, like I said earlier, we are just finalizing that. So, but we are going to add additional things there to help merchants. So the current thing that we can do is obviously allow you to take Bitcoin. So the one thing that we are talking about, but we just haven't made any decisions on, is actually taking credit card payments and doing basically the same the same process. However, there's a much higher risk there because of chargebacks, and so dealing with money that got sent to your bank account, even though it can be reversed, that is quite a bit of a pain, right? But an angry consumer can call their credit card and say, I didn't like the product, and 9 out of 10 times they're going to get their money back, right? So it's going to be the merchants. The small business owners here know this, right? It's always the merchant usually that gets the short end of the stick on that one. So, but we are planning obviously in expanding all the offerings we have. So one of the things, like I said earlier too, is that we want to really go do a POS, right? So we want to be able to go to a farmer's market, right? And you want to buy some lettuce, and you pay with Bitcoin. Why not? It should be easy, right? It's internet stuff, so we have a network. We have 3G, 4G, so it should be very doable. So what's happening right now in the industry is there simply are not enough APIs. There's not enough code written yet, but we'll get there. Yes, sir.
Do you guys hold
There's a little bit of both. So we obviously need to have reserves to make sure that we can make payments to people. But we tend to do it in real time when possible. So we want to obviously not take the exchange rate risk either, right? So if the quote is $650 for a Bitcoin, then we want to obviously not lose our profit on it by having to, taking the risk that the price is going to drop in the next 15 seconds. In fact, actually, when you submit a transaction on our payment gateway, it's nearly instantaneous. Since we wrote actually all the full node Bitcoin implementation, what we do is we integrated that actually within the website. So when you basically take the picture of the QR code, it gets submitted to the mempool pretty much immediately. So there's almost nearly instant feedback that your transaction is out on the network. And at that point, there really is no reason to think that it's not going to get mined or not going to get paid out. So, but then we actually put up, the number of confirmations you have received so far, and we tend to basically go to the standard of 6, so that everybody knows that can be assured that they're going to get their money. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah, the flyer is a bit, we actually decided to make it 4 so that it's not so many letters and complicated, but I'm sorry for that. It is 4. Yeah, we made the numbers even instead of doing the 099, and because it's just, everybody knows it's 1, really. So I'm sorry about that. We haven't updated the flyer yet. Yes?
The flyer, we take one at the end. We have our challenge right now, it's not integrated with our POS, so we bring it up to POS and then we invoice the customer separately to make sure both of those things happen. Do you know what POS systems or POS are looking at integrating, or who would be interested?
There are a couple of ideas. So, well, what I can tell you what I want to do first and that is I want to basically create a web page where you could basically put an iPad in front of your customer and then basically finish the transaction. That would be step 1, right? And then obviously, if possible, and if somebody would be interested, we would like to integrate with somebody who actually deploys widgets that will be able to take that payment. But that's much farther into the future, and I cannot commit to that stuff yet. Depends on what my boss wants to do. Yes, sir. Well, that is a question I get a lot. And adding Litecoin, for example, to our full node implementation would really not take a whole bunch of time. It would take probably on the order of, for an experienced guy, about 3 days. Somebody less experienced, about a week. So it's really not the amount of work involved. It's there's a bunch of new things that we need to care about, right? Because we need to obtain live quotes. We need to have a reliable exchange. There's a whole bunch of back-end stuff involved with it. So it's not that we don't want to do it. We really do. It's just right at this moment, it's just not feasible yet. But I got to say, we are very interested in Litecoin. They have a really cool product. I wish it was more widely available, in fact. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
So I'm a little bit confused on your fees. One is 4% and then you said 1%.
That's right.
1% on the transaction and this is...
So the way it works is so if you go from BTC to USD, it's 1%. So the reason for that is that once we receive the BTC, there is not a whole lot of risk involved at this point, because we are obviously the ones holding the BTC at that point. So the transaction cannot be reversed unless requested by the customer. And of course, then we can do that, and that'll be all fine. But once we disburse, when you go from USD to BTC, there's a much higher risk, right? Because once we disburse, we assume the risk at that point, hence the higher fee. Any other questions? Really? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time.